I'm always really excited to talk about manga on this channel, but today feels very extra special when it comes to this manga because I'm like, it needs more hype, it needs more love. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. I am so excited for this manga review today. I never expected that I would fall head over heels for this series, but here I am prepared and ready to gush about it. And that series is Primitive Boyfriend. This is a 3-volume series by, 7 Seas. It came out, I don't know, not recently. It's been out for I think a few years now. I have seen it in passing, saw this cover, and I'm like, this is looking a little bit weird. And I feel bad. Past me just didn't know what was in store for when I finally read this series. And I have to give a huge shout to my friend Brie. She bought me the first 2 volumes for my birthday. And then my friend Danielle, shout to her as well. She got me the 3rd volume. And I am so grateful. Like, this series is definitely going to be a favorite in my collection. It's definitely a special gem. I was going to say hidden gem, but it can't be hidden if it's in my collection. But a special gem that I will own and just be so thankful I read this because it was nothing like anything I've read before, which maybe sounds really big, but honestly, does anybody know of another manga series that's a romance, okay? And that the romance takes place 2.5 million years ago with basically an 8-man. How many manga series, not just shoujo, but manga series in general, do we know fit this, okay? If you know of one, please tell me because I would be very curious. I don't know if I would try it out because this one set the bar extremely high and I loved it so much. But in case if you're like me and you didn't know anything about this except for like, I don't know if I can get behind this kind of romantic story with the first cover looks like that. I mean, you can see he's getting more human-like as the series goes on and he's very much human here. But you know, at the beginning, this is what you're gonna see first. And so it's about our main girl, a 17-year-old girl. Her name is Mito. She's in high school and I think she said that all the boys around her are like wet noodles. She feels they're very wimpy and she just wants a man. She is just fed up. They're hitting on her consistently. She's always being asked out and she's just like, I'm done. I'm done. She is the daughter of a rice farmer and as she's plowing the fields, she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna marry farming. This goddess of the harvest hears her cry, hears her prayer more or less, and tells her, I have seen all of the hard work that you've put into this field, into this rice field. I'm going to help you find your soulmate. She says, okay, and this goddess takes her back 2.5 million years ago where she meets this 8-man here. I was supposed to say this man, but this 8-man here who she starts having feelings for, which sounds really crazy. But thing is something happens. She comes back to the real world. She is so heartbroken about things that have happened. The goddess of the harvest is like, I'm still going to help you, but now you're going to go to a different time period and you have to go find your soulmate. And then that happens again in volume 3. And so Mito here is looking for her soulmate in modern present day Japan. But she had to go through all of these different time periods basically to find him. This series was everything. And I, again, never expected I would love it so much. I felt so deeply invested at first. At first I actually really liked it. And our girl Mito is OP, okay? I mean, it literally opens up. She's being confessed to by this guy. And she's reaching out her hand. It looks like she's maybe about to put on the side of his head or just on his shoulder. And she's like, oh, you have a stowaway. And it was a spider. And the dude freaks out. She's pretty offended because she was like, these spiders are, what'd she say, like the biggest avengers for the rice fields and they protect it from other pests. She's like, spiders deserve their own national holiday. And I'm like, girl, you're pretty amazing. You are pretty amazing because I don't feel the same way. I don't feel the same way. I don't feel that guy was in the wrong for freaking out and running away because that too would have been me. But she was really upset by that. And the other guys that she's interacting with, she's just like, oh, I can't stand them. And it was very interesting seeing this young woman who sort of has all the perfect looks, mainly because she does farming. And I think it was explained like how her muscles are really toned and she eats really healthy. She's just this perfect girl, more or less, it seems. But she's not finding that perfect guy. And these dudes that seem like they'd be a perfect fit for her, she's just like, no, I don't want anything to do with them and the likes. And so when she goes back in time, and in each of the volumes, when she goes back in time, it was captured so so vividly. I mean, this is truly a dangerous series in the sense of danger that's happening in the manga, but also very thrilling. When we first see, what is the first thing that she sees? Well, first off, she sees a dead carcass and she is like, that's pretty nasty. And I was like, girl, I feel the same way here. The art really brings all of the danger that's happening, all of these animal attacks that are happening to life in a really scary, but really well-drawn way. I know the creator has like her sidebars mentioning that her art ability maybe was just not up to par. I don't know what this lady's talking about, because every time there was danger and there's an animal attack, my heart rate just skyrocketed upwards. Especially in volume 2, the anxiety was real. I'm like, girl, how many times are you about to be attacked? And I'm just about to panic and freak out. Like, I am panicking on your behalf because this is just so upsetting. Yeah, like this continued through all 3 volumes, though for volume 3 it wasn't quite as dangerous, thankfully, and my anxiety appreciated it. But I was just amazed at how these scenes were captured on page. You can really feel the danger that Mito is in. You definitely know this is not modern day Japan. Mito could seriously get injured, get hurt, lose her life in this savannah place that she is in volume 1. And if it wasn't for our ape man here and him saving her, she would not be here. She would not be here. I was so shocked that things happened by the end of volume 1. I got so emotional and I was like, I can't believe I'm about to cry over this ape man and this girl from modern day Japan, and how she's just heartbroken that things happen. And she's like, Gari, I miss you. That was the nickname that she gave him. And she's like, I want to find you. And I'm just like, girl, I need you to find him. I need you to find him. But yeah, going back to Mito, she was a very wonderful female lead. I really love how she loved being a farmer's daughter. That was her joy, and she was very passionate about it and very serious about it. How honestly, she has like this great head on her shoulders through each of the volumes. In fact, with volume 2, I know I didn't talk a lot about volume 1, but in volume 2, I just want to say, when I was reading the reviews on Goodreads, a lot of people felt that this was more of a all over the place kind of manga, and maybe it was sort of boring. I never felt that way, honestly. And I feel like this volume was not everywhere. I felt it had a purpose, because at the end of volume 1, Mito says, she tells the goddess of the harvest, I'm going to go save Gari this time. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to put my life on the line to help keep him safe. And with that declaration, we go into this next volume. She's no longer in, the time period of like 2.5 million years ago. She's in the jungle. She's not in the savannah or like the desert anymore. There is so much danger that she's facing. And I feel like with every new danger she faces, it really tests her words. Are you really willing to stand in the face of danger? Stand in the face of crocodiles who want to eat you. Let me find a picture of the giant crocodile, because that was like one of the scenes that I was like, this is absolutely terrifying. Here we go. This is what he looks like at first when she first sees him. And he's big and intimidating, and she's really, really tiny. And then the next page, here he goes, coming after her. Look how big he is. And so facing events and dangers like this, I feel like she has to prove that she meant every single word she said, especially when it comes to these kind of situations. What is she going to do? How is she going to prove herself, for her personal self, not necessarily anybody else, but prove that she loves him and cares for him, and that she is going to go after him with all of her heart, despite that very obvious language barrier, because in volume 1, yeah, there's not really a language that's really taking place. And even in volume 2 was very, very similar. But I feel like the romance was much sweeter in this volume, despite that they are not necessarily able to talk and communicate. I feel like feelings were, not that the feelings weren't conveyed well in volume 1, but I feel like there was a special way that the feelings were coming out. And how I feel like our caveman, I don't know if he's necessarily a caveman, but how our man here was able to just feel Mito's emotions and know when something was up. I really liked how in this volume, he was really funny, actually. In the first volume, Gari is very serious, he's very strong, and he is not afraid to go up against a woolly mammoth. He was not afraid to go up against that, as well as a saber-toothed tiger. Like, he wasn't afraid to go up against that. And so I really expected that when we're going into this other time period and we're meeting Gari and this man who's like a reincarnation of him, that he's going to be the same way. But he was really funny, and I laughed quite a bit. I laughed a lot in volume 1 because Mito's internal dialogue, totally a mood, girl. Totally a mood. And I laughed a lot in this one because of our man's actions and how they're playing hide and go seek and how he was sort of going after her and she's like, just leave me alone. There was a brief time where I felt slightly frustrated because the goddess warns her. She's like, I'm going to send you to this place and it's up to you if you can see him, if you can see your soulmate. She didn't quite see him. And I'm just like, girl, and I get it though. When you're facing all this danger, your adrenaline is just pumping 24/7. I feel like it's going to be harder to see clearly, but I did appreciate that when she's sort of facing all this danger and she's sort of going in circles, that Mito's like, you know, I need to get to high ground. And if I can get to high ground, then I can see where I need to go, because she doesn't realize that she's in a different time era in this volume. She thinks that she's still in the same world as Gari and she's just met this other guy and that now she's also in the jungle. And if she can just get to a high vantage point, then she can see, okay, that is where Gari lives, that's where I need to go. And she just has this great head on her shoulders, which I appreciate. So even if she's being saved over and over in the beginning, which I feel like rightfully so, because you're a modern day girl and this guy's lived here his whole life, he's gonna know the dangers of the jungle. And I'm like, the jungle's really scary. But it was amazing and I really loved how things unfolded at the end and how Mito fulfilled her words. She fulfilled what she wanted to do. I got very emotional and wanted to cry. I did cry at the end of volume 3, not gonna lie. And I don't know if because at the end of volume 3, my daughter had some music on because she was painting. And so I don't know if the music mixed with reading made me really emotional or if it was just because the volume itself really was emotional or a combination of things. I really don't know, but I definitely cried. And I'm like, I'm so glad that none of my kids noticed, because as of filming this, my kids are on spring break and I'm just trying to like push it off that maybe it's just that all my eyes are watering because of allergies. So I'm just thankful that nobody realized. But yeah, each of the volumes felt very emotional. I loved this third volume as well. It was very satisfying to see how I thought with volumes 1 and 2, our soulmates sort of recognized each other. But in volume 3, that was not necessarily the case. Mito had more obstacles and hurdles that she had to overcome to really get this man to trust her and see that there's something special about her. I was taken aback by that because I didn't expect it to go that route. And so I felt a new investment in the series, even in the third volume, even though, like I said, I thought things would go one way and they did not. And it wasn't just him, but it was a whole village, since this time there were actual other people here. What I liked about this one is I liked the guy. I liked this one had much more of a romantic plot to it, but I love how we are introduced to these guys in the beginning. We meet the wet noodles. It's this guy here. I don't remember their names, but it's this guy who's like the very popular, cool guy, very outspoken, comes across sort of as like prideful. We have this guy who's an otaku, very quiet, doesn't say much, and really loves anime. This guy is a slacker and he likes listening to music, sleeping in class and whatnot. This guy comes across, well, he's very pretty, but he comes across as very girly because he likes feminine things, I guess you would say. He's very, very sweet though. I liked him a lot. I sort of feel like he was my favorite out of all the guys. And this is the teacher. There is no kind of love interest, any kind of inkling with the teacher. I don't know if he's just sort of included because he's the history teacher and he's very informative and he does impact Mito in the sense of the knowledge that he is teaching her, because I never felt like that he had any interest in her romantically at all. So I guess he's just there because he's one of the guys. Also, he never stands up for himself. Mito is always the one getting on the slacker during class. And so I think maybe that's why he's actually part of the guys here. We meet them and I feel like because of Mito, we do not have the best kind of outlook on these guys and how they're just sort of shallow or they're not that cool or they're just aggravating. There was never like a positive emotional response, I feel, for me personally when I saw them. So I liked how with the third volume, that really changed. Mito herself is seeing different sides of them through different situations and how she's seeing Gari in each character or each of the guys. And then she starts questioning, wonder if one of these guys is the modern day reincarnated Gari. And I have just never known it because I have been seeing them in a negative kind of way. And so I appreciated in this volume that we're seeing those guys differently than how we saw them before. How they're not nearly as shallow as maybe they seem to be when we first meet them. That was really, really cool. Really, really enjoyed that. I loved a lot of different scenes, especially when Mito comes back to modern day Japan and she knows for certain who her soulmate is. The way that I think I could show it because it doesn't show who the actual character is, but this double page spread is gonna live rent-free in my head for a long time. I love how the modern day guy is running to her, but she's seeing each of the guys that she fell for in each of the different time periods. I thought was very compelling, very moving. Mito's emotions just wrapped around me, and definitely from things involving this scene going forward, I was very, very emotional, and I thought it was so impactful. I honestly never expected it to end the way that it did, but I was so happy that it did end on a positive note, that I was very, very happy. In fact, I was happy to see the goddess of the harvest, that she came back. She actually said a very touching line at the very end where she says, "Beloved children of this planet, be strong and courageous always." I thought that was a very moving and strong way to end this series, and I really did love the bonus short that we got at the end. It's not necessarily an epilogue, it's just an extra little short story, but it was the perfect way to wrap up this series and bring all of these guys together, see the different strengths of each one of them, how things were with the guy who is her soulmate now in modern day, and how he compared himself to the other guys, how he felt he measured up to them. It was all very, very moving, and the art style is so vivid. Oh wait, before I go on the art style though, like I said at the beginning, Mito is the daughter of a farmer, and so she does a lot of harvesting, works in a rice field. I loved how that wasn't just something stuck in volume 1, like, okay, we know she's a farmer, that knowledge will never come in handy again. No, in volume 3, farming actually played a really big role, and I loved it. I loved how we brought that identity back of Mito, and how she's not just a husband hunter, because it was sort of funny when the goddess is like, round 3 of husband hunting, and I love just the goddess's sense of humor as well. She's very pretty too, but I loved though just how that farming came back in this 3rd volume, and how it wasn't something Mito had to give up just because she's in this other time era, that it was still relevant to even the past. I thought that was a really cool connection and how that all was woven together. The art is what I was going to mention. I feel like volume 2 has some of the best art. The animals are just so incredibly drawn, like this might be a good page. I mean, there's so much detail, rich with detail. I mean, I really feel like I could just jump into this page and bam, I'm going to be at the jungle. I'm going to hear the sounds of the jungle. I'm going to be able to feel the moisture and the humidity in the air. It was a very cool way to just sort of like feel like I'm there. And I love just consistently that we're getting these different comparisons, not in a bad way, that Mito is seeing Gari though in these different guys, and how she's really just appreciating nature around her in a way that I don't think she quite has before. She definitely has a fondness for spiders and how they help the rice and keep away the bugs and whatnot, but she really just, I feel like this is supposed to be a rainbow that she sees, and she just really takes a moment to pause and appreciate the beauty of nature around her, which was really cool. And this is a great cute little back, and I will say some of the best, or my personal favorite, I should say, my personal favorite illustrations were the chapter illustrations that take place. Like I'm going to show one from volume 3. It's not a spoiler. I'm going to show one from the end of volume 3 too, or volume 1, excuse me, because I said that to my friend Jordan, and shout out to my friend Jordan. I buddy read this series with her, and it was so much fun. It was great to be able to chat with somebody and spam them how I was feeling. I love that how, like, I think this is her 3rd or 4th reread, and that she loves it just as much as the first time that she read it. It was so great just to be able to talk to somebody loves this series too, because I'm like, I'm definitely going to be rereading this again. So this is one of my favorite illustrations, and I just love how Gari, like he's so different, but he's just fitting right in with these guys, and I could not get over it. Honestly, any illustration that had him, when it came to the chapter illustrations, I thought was so funny and really, really good. This is another great one that I really enjoyed. I felt Mito looked so beautiful here, and I love how the 3 guys are in the background and how beautiful Mito looks. It's just super duper gorgeous, and I want to show one of my favorite illustrations. Oh, I didn't even notice this. There's like a full double page spread right here of the cover. How did I miss that? That's a volume 1. How did I miss that the first first time, but obviously I did. I liked this illustration too because Mito is chasing after Gari and they're like, oh my goodness, it was perfect. I really liked that and thought it was fun. Here's another great example of the animals. I mean, look at this. This is like Animal Planet but in manga, okay? I'm sure there's other manga that have really detailed animals as well, but I have not seen this quite this way in a shoujo manga, and so it was a really fresh and exciting experience for me. I honestly, when I think of this story and explaining it, the first two words that come to mind is dangerous and thrilling. Here's another really great illustration. I love the combination of elements, honestly, of present or modern day and the past coming together in one illustration. It's just so fun. I love this. I really did. This is definitely going to be a series I come back to and reread because it's short, 3 volumes. It's fun in every single volume, and I felt emotionally invested every single time, and I never expected that when I started this. So again, huge shout out to my friend Bree for getting me the first two volumes, and my friend Danielle gave me the 3rd volume, and then my friend Jordan buddy reading this with me. I felt like all of this just enhanced my love for this series. It is so good. It is so good. Don't be turned off by the primitive boyfriend here and how he looks on the cover, except for volume 3. It is amazing. I really hope that if you check it out that you have such a special time. I feel like this series is perfect for those who like the trope of String of Fate, if you like strong female heroines and you just want something that's unlike anything you've probably read. Primitive Boyfriend, it is the manga to check out. I would love to hear from you friends though. What are some other series that you feel are very unique in premise that are probably like Laura, you probably have never read anything like this before? I would love to know, and if you enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!